if all you want for this next SAT is to improve your score, get to the 1500 range, then this video is for you, right? You're taking your test in October, or honestly, whenever you're taking your exam, you should be focusing on only what gets you to that 750 range, and then that is good, right? That is your end ideal, right? And a normal strategy for improving the SAT and getting better at the SAT includes this like perfection phase where you closely repeat the questions that you get wrong a small portion of the time to really get yourself from 750 or like from 720-ish to the 800s to maximize the potential. And that is the longest and hardest portion of the exam, right? You don't have to do this if all your goal is to just get to 750 for this reading section as soon as possible, as fast as possible for your next SAT, right? And obviously this video is for those people. It's not for the people who want to reach the perfect score. Okay, so hi, I'm Karthik. This is my intense study plan to get to 750 as fast as possible for the English section. Okay, so let's start with the reading section. There are 4 questions in SAT reading, right? And they're always so extremely difficult. They have the max difficulty scale. If you ever get an SAS or a QAS or take a practice exam that has a grading key, you'll see they have difficulty ranked questions, and these are always the hardest, right? So you don't really need to care about them, right? So the SAT reading curve from August is -7 is 35, right? And if you don't know how the exam is graded, basically your section score is, let's say it's 35 for reading, you times 10 and that's your section score, right? So let's say you get a 35 and a 35, that's a 700, right? So 35 for reading and 35 for grammar, that's overall a 700, right? We want to get to 750. So I'm just displaying these two like ideals as potential, right? Because you want to get perfect in grammar, and I'll explain more about curves later in the video. But basically, you need to focus on this idea that you don't need to get it perfect in reading. It's actually extremely difficult to get all of those 4 questions correct, and you should just focus instead on perfecting the skills that you lack, right? Prioritize your weakest section, whether that's reading or grammar, obviously, but prioritize getting stronger in grammar versus reading. You want to focus on perfecting grammar versus perfecting reading, because perfecting reading is much harder, right? And that's how you really pick what you want to focus on primarily, but you should be focusing on both if you want a 750, right? So how do we improve quick on the SAT? For reading specifically, right, you need to practice your weakest question type, right? And here's how you do it. You find the specific skill that's your weakest question type through your practice exams, through grading. Find the name of the skill, like on all the practice exams, whether that's command of evidence or word in context or one of the other skills, right? Figure out the SAT name for it. You can practice it on Khan Academy, but even better is practicing it on the SAT Suite question bank and doing all the like easiest and then medium and then difficult problems. Do as much as you can in the time that you have, in all the time that you can allot to SAT prep. Find the exact skill and practice them relentlessly, right? That's how you're going to get better at this type of question, by doing it again and again from previous accurate SAT examples. The SAT Suite question bank is the secret hack that not many SAT students know about, and it's completely free and you can access it tomorrow, right? Or today even, right? Practice the hardest questions off of that. Keep repeating the cycle until you get about 90% accurate. And I'm going to explain what I mean by 90% accurate, right? The hardest questions you're going to generally get correct. Most of the time you're going to get them correct, but for medium and easy questions, right? And this is like the 3 boxes. 1 box filled with blue is easy, then 2 is medium. You get it? You want to get the medium and easy questions 100% of the time correct, right? And occasionally you're going to get a medium question wrong once out of every like 20, 30 attempts. That's okay, right? But the hardest questions, you don't have to focus on getting completely perfect, but at least more than half of the time you need to get them correct, right? And obviously this is still for reading. And what do you do once you've reached that ideal and you've reached, like, let's say a perfect score in grammar and you do really well? Keep going. Guarantee the fact that you're going to get a 750. If you keep going and you keep focusing on that small skill, right? You get the hardest questions. You try to increase your accuracy by doing more of them, reading more passages, doing more practice exams. You're going to guarantee your 750. You might even go beyond that. Okay, so the grammar portion. Perfection is expected for grammar. It's so much easier to get a perfect in grammar than it is for reading, because you just have to understand how the SAT wants you to think, right? So they hate redundancy and things like that that you should know from taking the exam. And you should know every single grammar rule. every single grammar rule. You should be able to read a question and explicitly know what rule it's testing and what thing is wrong and what portion, and instantly know what the answer is, right? And that's for all the ones where it uses actual grammar rules like punctuation, commas, clauses, any sort of things like that, right? Practice all of them to a certain extent where you feel confident about everything. You don't need to be perfect, right? But you should be able to know every single thing, and you should try to ace it more than you try to ace reading. So here, the grammar curve from August 6th is like -6 questions is 35, -11 questions is 31. So that's just like general idea of how you should do. Now, here's a disclaimer about curves. The August SAT curve might be extremely different than October. And I'm going to explain how you bulletproof. This is probably the most important part of this video. How do you bulletproof yourself knowing that the curve might be different and the question difficulty might be different? If you focus, right, on getting the 90% correct, right? Like all the hard questions or half the hard questions, all the medium questions, all the small questions, you're going to do well, regardless of what the curve is, right? Because if the exam is easier and the curve is like way higher, your ability to know 90% on these like difficult, medium, and easy questions is going to allow you to do better and get that 1500 score regardless of what the curve is. So if you focus less on what the question like incorrect number is, right? Like if I take a reading section and I get -7 wrong, right? I should not care about the number I get wrong, but the skills in which I'm getting them, right? If I took 5 practice exams and, on half of them, on half of the total hard questions, I got half of them wrong, that's fine. But in one of the exams, let's say that's like -4, and in all the other ones, like generally it's like -1, -2, right? You shouldn't care that much about how much you get correct, but the 90%. And this is how you bulletproof yourself from a curve being very different, right? It'll generally stay the same relative to how difficult the exam is, right? So if the exam is very easy, the curve will like adjust to that. And same thing if the exam is much more difficult, right? Still take every question like more seriously and try to maximize your knowledge and your like how much you're studying in all of your problem areas, the questions you get most wrong. But basically, if you just focus on that 90% rule that I talked about, you're going to be bulletproof no matter what the curve is. Okay. This is extremely achievable. And, I really mean that. It might seem very difficult. You probably only have 3 weeks and a couple days, right, left, but it is possible. It's just a matter of how much are you willing to dedicate to your score. I want you to do this visualization with me now. Close your eyes. Think about what a 1500 is going to do for you, what your plans are for the future, and how a 1500 plus score is going to get you there for college, for jobs, whatever you want to do in life. How is this score going to help you? Because if it's not going to help you, then you're probably not really caring about the SAT. But if it is, then the SAT is probably extremely important. Now think about that importance, right? Put that into your work. Maximize as much time as you can, because the time that you can prepare for the SAT is finite, but the rewards of getting a good SAT score are forever, right? Do this. Keep remembering this every time you feel like not studying for the SAT, and that will push you to do more in the small time that you have left to prepare for October, right? For the next SAT that's coming. If you had the patience to watch through all of this and pay attention and not be distracted on your phone, reading the comments, doing whatever in this video, and you just focused your attention on this video, I truly believe that you got this. You have what it takes. You have the discipline, the self-control to be able to do this, right? Not that many people are probably going to be able to like even try this, right? Because if everyone tried it, they would get it. But it's the matter of the fact is not that many people are going to put in their effort and do it. But if you watched all the way and you have this idea and you believe that it's achievable, right? The most important part of this is belief that it's possible, which I truly believe it's possible with this method. I know you can do this. I know it's possible simply because you have all of those things. Thank you guys so much. I hope you learned something today.